Well, deja vu. yet again, it's almost a mirror image. The last 2 weeks, almost identical scores too. It was 17-10. Eagles lose last week, and it's 17-9. Eagles lose this week because they went for 2 at the end after a late, basically meaningless touchdown. They almost went an entire game without scoring a touchdown. They almost went six quarters without scoring a touchdown. And I know there's injuries and I know there's inconsistent play, but that's just pathetic. That's bad. At home. That's bad. And as it was a week ago, it was a winnable game this week. Yes, wearing a Sixers hat. It just almost feels like you just got to turn the page at this point. I know Dallas lost to the Patriots tonight in a close battle there in the rain in New England. So we're still a game back. And I understand the Eagles have winnable games coming up here with the Dolphins and the Redskins and Giants. And if Dallas stumbles one time in the next 3 weeks and we win out the next 3 weeks, they're tied, and that Week 16 game is at home at the Link against them is probably going to be for the division more than likely. I mean, can I tell you, the viewer, that I feel confident that even if that's how it breaks, and the Eagles win the next 3 weeks and Dallas loses one of the next 3, at least to be tied going into that game, do I feel confident the Eagles can win that game with the fact that this offense is what this offense has done these 2 weeks at home? And I know the Patriots have a really good defense in Seattle, but I mean, Seattle, look, they didn't even, Jadeveon Clowney wasn't even on the field tonight. And that's the offense we're putting out there. And I understand about the injuries. I understand that Howie didn't do a good enough job at replenishing or bringing in more players. Probably shouldn't have brought Nelson Aguilar back. Probably should have gotten some other receiver, a better receiver. Deshaun Jackson goes down, and that's the season. Other teams overcome this stuff. I hate to use them as an example because it's the low-hanging fruit, but there's really no other team I can think of. The Patriots offense, I don't know if you've noticed the last few weeks, has not looked very good. In fact, for most of the season, they haven't looked very good. They have lost playmakers throughout the season due to injury or just they released them. They have lost a lot of talent on offense. But they still find ways to win games. They are still going to be one of the top teams in the AFC. They could very well have home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs yet again. With that offense that has not played well. Yeah, their defense is playing incredible. But they don't hurt themselves time after time after time with fumbles, with interceptions. And the last 2, well, more so this week than last, but last week it's unbalanced offense, it's 3 and outs, it's punts, it was the punt fest last week. This week it was the turnover fest. And even with that, the Seahawks got 5 turnovers today. And how many points did they get off those 5 turnovers? 3. 3 points, 1 field goal. Look, that's a win for this defense. This defense kept them in the game. This defense gave them a chance to win the game. And they couldn't have done anything else other than score on their... And maybe that's what they have to do. To the point that they did try on the interception. McLeod lateraled the ball trying to keep that, keep the ball with the defense to score a touchdown. I mean, look, they feel at this point they have to score because the offense sure as hell isn't scoring. 10 points last week, 9 points this week at home. And we knew going into these two games off the bye week, it was going to be difficult games. And at the very worst, they had to split. They had to go 1-1. And at the end of the day, I'm looking at this, they could have gone 2-0. They were two winnable games. They were there to be won. The Seahawks ran away from the game late. The Eagles scored a very late touchdown, whatever. But for most of the game, it was like last night. It's 10-3. It's a one-possession game. Yeah, Carson again didn't look good. Okay, that's 2 straight weeks. He's got to get it together. But a lot of this is also on just the vanilla play calling of Doug Peterson and the offensive coaching staff. It is horrible, the play calling. Again today. Again. The run-to-pass ratio completely unbalanced in a one-possession game for most of the game. And then Penny had that long touchdown. And you know what? At that point, the defense is gassed. They miss a couple tackles, and he's gone for a touchdown. I mean, you know, it is what it is. It was bound to happen eventually. But yet again, the offense looks like crap for most of the game. Yet again. And even when they're having drives that looks decent, they're turning the ball over. Carson, another fumble. He actually had 2 of them today. One he recovered. The other one, of course, was lost. And again, I'm looking at this coaching staff. Now, going into the week, we knew that Lane Johnson wasn't going to play. So what do? Now, you have Vaitai, and I know he's not great shakes, but he probably could play right tackle. And instead, you go to a rookie, a left tackle, and you say, okay, you're going to play right tackle. What can go wrong? And then, of course, the beginning of the game happens. Now, Carson, again, that was a horrible fumble, but he's being drugged right into because Dillard's man beats him clean, he just shoves him back, and the pocket collapses. The pocket collapsed on numerous occasions on Carson there early in the game until they took Dillard out of the game and they put Vaitai in there. And look, Vaitai isn't an all-pro, okay? But I think going into this week, the move there was to put Vaitai at right tackle, not Dillard. All due respect to the man, he's a rookie. He's a rookie left tackle. I think he made some comments during the week or something about like being a righty and trying to write an essay and left-handed or something. You know, I mean, you don't think Seattle's going to see those comments? I mean, again, he's a rookie. You put him in a bad spot. And again, that's knowing the personnel. This coaching staff has done a horrible job all year long with understanding their personnel, understanding how to use their personnel, and that falls back on Doug. I mean, Doug's regressed as a head coach, in my eyes. I know he hasn't had a lot of help with the offensive coaching staff around him, and I understand it, Eagles Nation. Look, Frank Reich and DiFilippo, they're not walking through those doors anytime soon, okay? And you are going to lose assistant coaches when you win. All teams do. It happens. Maybe, yeah, I mean, hindsight being what it is, Eagle fans want to say, well, maybe it should have been, Dougie that they let go and kept Reich as the head coach. Well, you're not going to do that after the man wins a Super Bowl. Okay? That's not going to happen. You're going to lose coaching staff when you win. It happens to every team that wins. And those guys were big. Frank Reich and DiFilippo, they did yeoman's work when they were here. And that is why they have other jobs with other teams. That's why Frank Reich's a head coach right now with the Indianapolis Colts, because of what he did here. And yeah, he was a great voice in the coaching staff room and with Doug and helped this team to win a Super Bowl. Absolutely. And they did not do a good job at replacing him to this point. And after this season, I would imagine there'll be a clean sweep with all the, besides Doug, with all the offensive coaches. They'll bring in new ones this offseason because there needs to be a change. But they don't know how to use this personnel. I know there's not a lot of playmakers on that side of the ball. I get it. You lose Deshaun Jackson, you lose your speed receiver. But at the same time, you still have to be able to design plays that are going to be successful with what you have. There are still enough players on this offense that you can have success with. And they don't do it. Miles Sanders, and I know he's a rookie, but he is your most explosive weapon on offense. He's your fastest weapon on offense, and you don't use him enough in the passing game. Basically what the Patriots do with White, you could be doing with Miles Sanders. And they don't. Wheel routes, different routes. Just find ways to get him involved in the offense. Today would have been a perfect game to use him more in the offense, and they don't. I don't know what Dallas Goedert is, to be honest. Much touted tight end. I mean, he's had his moments. He's also dropped the ball a few times. Today he gets it stripped, fumbles the ball, another turnover. But still, you have two tight ends that could be a bigger part of the offense than they are. I liked what I saw early out of Ward. Didn't really hardly see him in the second half. The only receiver that seems to be catching the ball, and then you go away from him in the second half. And I know Seattle probably covered him a little different. But at the same time, you got to find ways to get these guys involved. And Doug just isn't doing it. And yes, and I know I'm a fan of number 11, but he is not without blame. He has played piss poor. Piss poor out of the bye week. And the last 2 weeks have just been horrendous. And today with the turnovers. It's a close game. You can't be turning the ball over like that. Crucial points of the game. When your offense is starting to put a drive together, and the next thing you know, here comes an interception. Oh, have a fumble. Can't do that. All quarterbacks are going to turn the ball over. That just goes with the position. It's going to happen. There is not a perfect quarterback out there who's never going to turn the ball over. It happens. But this guy's got to be is a franchise quarterback. And the last 2 weeks at home were winnable games. And against tough opponents, I get it, but winnable games. One possession games for the most part. And at some point, play calling or whatever withstanding, injuries withstanding, offensive line, whatever withstanding, at some point, your franchise quarterback has got to go on a drive. Has got to say, all right, boys, hop onto my shoulders, we're going. At some point, we got to see this from him. Yeah, he won some games. Green Bay, Buffalo, okay, he's won some games. But this is the point of the season where every game is amplified. These games matter the most. And in the last 2 games, he's come up small. Not just him. There were plays to be made that weren't made. The coaching has been horrendous. Offensive play call has been vanilla. It looks like a preseason offense out there, the play calling. To the point that the last 2 weeks, you've had members of the opposing defense saying they're predictable. We knew it was going to happen before it happened. And you saw that at certain plays. But at some point, we got to have this guy, the franchise quarterback, the guy that was paid the money, to make the plays, to go on the drive. Tie the damn game up. Punt, turnover. You have to make do with what you have. I understand that Deshaun Jackson isn't out there. Alshon Jeffrey isn't out there. Even Aguilar wasn't out there tonight. Whatever. I don't think that would have made any difference if he was out there or not, but whatever. You have other players that can make plays, get it done. Enough of the excuses. After every game, we got to do a better job. Sound like Andy Reid all over again. We got to do a better job. The only difference is they're not doing it with the throat clears, like Andy always did. All due respect to Big Red. But it's pathetic, man. This is unacceptable. This is unacceptable these last 2 weeks. Okay, against the Patriots, whatever. It happens. It was a winnable game. They let get away. I'm not saying it was okay. But I would say, okay, look, if you win the Seattle game, hey, look, you win the Seattle game, we go on a run, we got some teams we should beat on paper. And you know what I said about paper before. Okay, you beat Seattle, you go to Miami, you win that game, you go on a run, maybe Dallas loses a game here and there, and then, oh, here we are. But you come back the very next week. The very next week at home, a big game at home. Basically a must-win at home. Yes, against a good team, against a team that knows how to win, that's done it for many years. But you're still in a game where you're the home team, you have the fans for you, and instead of just getting that momentum, playing well, getting it going, come out, okay, we get a field goal, and then the next thing you know, we're turning the ball over left and right. And I'll blame the fans for booing. I would boo too if I was there. They deserve to get booed. Back-to-back weeks, winnable games. Basically, you gave these two away. And you can't do that this time of year. You can't get away with doing this. And they are fortunate. If there's any such thing as being fortunate with this team right now, they are fortunate that they play in the NFC East. Because if they were in these other divisions, they'd be out of it right now. Season would be completely over. No chance. But it just so happens they're in a division where you have two teams basically looking for where they're going to be picking in the draft, and you got a Jekyll and Hyde Dallas team who leads the division at 6-5. It's the only saving grace right now. But even that, it's like, can I trust? Even if this team, goes on a run here and wins the next 3 games against teams that they should beat, in the Dolphins, Redskins, and Giants, or Dolphins, Giants, Redskins, whatever it is, the order of how they play them. Can I trust? I feel I can trust the defense in that big game in Week 16 against Dallas if everything shakes out the way that it could, and we're both tied in the record, win-loss column at that point. But can I say right now with a straight face that I trust this offense and the coaching staff and our quarterback, our franchise quarterback, that they're going to come out and have a great game against Dallas in Week 16 in a must-win at home? When I saw how this team played in these past 2 weeks at home, and if you want to call a must-win situation, certainly this week was a must-win situation, and see how flat they came out, turning the ball over left and right. And it's not that this team turns the ball over that often. I think that was a rarity, what you saw today. I don't think you're going to continue to see that, because normally, even as piss poor as they've played on offense, they're not a big giver. They don't turn the ball over a ton. Well, today they did. And even with that, they were still in the game because the defense was playing well. Yes, Seattle missed some plays, but the defense was playing well, and it's played well. And that's a good thing. That's a good sign. So, look, Week 16 comes around, and the Eagles and Dallas are tied with the record, and it's a must-win here at home. I will feel confident with the defense if they continue to play the way they have. But with the offense, I can't say that. Not for nothing, Dallas has a good pass rush. Carson likes to hold on to the ball a little too long. I can't sit here with a straight face today, as much as it pains me to say this, because I hate Dallas with a passion. But I can't say with a straight face that must win. This offense is going to turn it up and score 30 points and win the game against Dallas. I can't say that. I'm having trouble thinking that they're going to beat Miami this week. I know Miami is. But hey, Miami, and maybe some of those points were in garbage time today. They scored 24 points today. That's more than the Eagles have scored the last 2 weeks. The Eagles have scored 19 points in the last 2 weeks. Miami scored 24 points today. Do I expect the Eagles are going to beat Miami in Miami next week? I do. I do. And you know, could they beat the Giants at home on a Monday night? They could. Could they beat Washington? Yeah, Washington right now is just playing for picks. So, whatever. It'll be a home game for the Eagles. There'll be more Eagle fans there, the Redskin fans, you know, at that FedEx Field. But at the end of the day, if things go the way we hope they do, these next 3 weeks, the Eagles win and Dallas loses 1 game, at least one in their next 3, and we're tied in that all-important must-win situation, like a playoff game situation at home. Do I expect this offense to come out and play well? I can't say I do. And maybe things look a little different then. Maybe they get guys back, like Lane Johnson will be back, hopefully at right tackle. Maybe Alshon will be out there. Maybe even Jordan Howard will be back. Who knows? But is Doug going to call a good game? And are the players going to execute? Because it goes hand in hand. The coaching staff has to call it. The players have to execute it. In the last 2 weeks, neither has happened. It's been bad play calling by Doug and the coaching staff. It's been even worse execution by the players on the field. And the funny thing is, we're sitting basically where we were a year ago before we went on that run. I don't want to hear it with Nick Foles. I don't know how much better it would be with Nick Foles here, to be honest. To be perfectly honest with you, when you look at these players on the field, I don't know. Offensive line in shambles right now. The receivers just are, can't catch a cold. I don't know. Play calling is what it is. I don't know how much better this team would be right now with Nick Foles. I don't know how much better this team would be right now with Russell Wilson as the quarterback. I have no idea. I mean, for God's sakes, if Russell Wilson was the quarterback, Dougie probably wouldn't be calling runs for Russell. Stay in the pocket. That's another thing. Why is he not rolling Carson out more? That's one of his strengths. They just keep him in the pocket the whole time. It makes no sense. Again, this is why, and a lot of blame should go to Carson, absolutely. But you look at the design, the play designs, the play calling, it's just, it's horrible. Doug's regressed. There is no creativity on this offense at all. They're not a good third down conversion offense. They were. Now they're not. They're not a good fourth down conversion offense. They used to be. The creativity is gone. And again, I don't care who you have and who you don't have on the field. You still have to do what you have to do to make it work. Go with the strengths of your players. And it just seems more than not, at least in the last few weeks, they've completely gone away from that. It's like Doug. This is his first time with this team. I mean, Doug, you've had these guys for a number of years. Carson's been your quarterback here. I know he's gotten hurt at times. I know today he had a hand issue, so we'll see. The X-rays were negative, but we'll see. I guess he goes in again tomorrow to get looked at. But you've had him here for a number of years. You know what his strengths are, and you're completely going away from that. I'm not saying put him in harm's way, let him get hurt, but one of his assets is his feet. He's a mobile quarterback. Let him keep plays alive with his feet. Roll him out. If there's that threat of him running, it keeps the defense honest. You got to be creative. There's just no, like I said before, it's like preseason offense. Lack of creativity, lack of using and I know there's not a lot of playmakers right now, but what the playmakers they have, it's lack of using them at their strengths. Piss poor. And the shame of it is it was 2 winnable games. I know they were tough games on paper. The Patriots and Seattle, I get that. But they were winnable games. It was, for the most part, both of these games were 1-possession games. And you just couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. Defense played well. Defense played well. Were they beaten at times? Sure. There were a couple plays weren't made by Seattle. But for the most part, the defense played well. They kept them in the game against 2 good quarterbacks. The possible league MVP in Russell Wilson today. They kept them in the game. They kept those offenses down. Even though the Patriots' offense hasn't been that great, but still, you're keeping... Tom Brady had one of his worst statistical games a week ago against the Eagles. Russell Wilson today, and not a very good statistical game for him against an Eagles defense. Did a good job. And going forward, I'm glad for that. Because it's not like this team is a total corpse right now. And both sides of the ball are horrendous. And it's just, we're not going to have a shot. Because this defense will keep them in games. It will. And you are going, in the next 3 weeks, these are winnable games. Now, these last 2 games are winnable when you look at the score. But on paper, and again with paper, the next 3 weeks, this team should win all 3 games. Now, that being said, I know it's like every year the Eagles have these games, and they already did this year in the home game against Detroit, which was a loss. They always seem to have these games that absolutely, you go into the game, you can almost put in an ink that's going to be a win, and they lose. They find a way to lose. So it would not shock me if they lose one of these next 3 weeks. I mean, not for nothing. 2 of the 3 games are against divisional opponents, and I know those teams are jockeying right now to see who gets a higher pick, but it is divisional opponents, and anything can happen. You know, it is what it is. But they should win all 3 games, and if Dallas loses one of the next 3, which very well could happen, you're tied going into that Week 16 game here, which could be for the division. But again, am I going to feel confident going into that week, regardless of what happens in the next 3 games? You know, and you can say it's against cupcake teams, whatever happens in the next 3 games. Am I going to feel overly confident that week that they can win that game with this offense, with the coaching staff, with Doug Peterson designing plays that are going to win that game? I can't say so, and it pains me to say that. Because I hate having that feeling over my head of losing to Dallas again in a big game. I hate that. But I'm not overly confident. I'm just not. I'm not overly. I do not feel good about how the rest of this season could shake out, unless something drastically changes with the play calling, with the offensive play. I can't. And it sickens me that here we are the week of Thanksgiving and it feels like the season's over. When you have, 5 more games to go. And it's still alive. They're still alive to win a division title and get to the playoffs. There's still a shot. Because Dallas has been Jekyll and Hyde. And it could come down to that Week 16 game here in Philly for the division. Even though there's still another game to play the next week. But it very well could be won that week. And it quite possibly will be won that week, one way or the other. And as it is right now, I can't feel confident about the Eagles' chances. Unless things change offensively. I mean, look, they got what they got. Can't change it. Players aren't going to magically appear. They're going to have to make it work. This is on the coaching staff. This is on Doug and the offensive coaching staff to get this thing right. It's on the players to get this thing right. The defense did it. The defense got it right. And the offense has got to find a way. Winnable games or not, they got to find a way. Because it can't be one-sided. You can't go into every week and the defense is going to play, great, and the offense is going to be in quicksand. That can't continue to happen. Because I don't care who your opponent is. If you play like this against Miami, In Miami next week, that's going to be another L. You play like that against the Redskins in Washington. You play like that against the Giants. L. As trouble as those teams have had, L. If you don't score enough points, you're not going to win. Name of this game is the score. And if you're not doing that, you're not going to win. Plain and simple, end of story. Figure it out. I mean, maybe they could still salvage the season, go on a run. But like I said, I the way it's looked the last 2 weeks, offensively more so than defensively, offensively, I can't really say I'm overly enthusiastic about the outlook for the rest of the season. At this point, I'm still going to watch. I'm still going to root. You know, that's I'm not just going to jump ship here and just not watch again and hell with it. I watch every game. I mean, there's been seasons worse than this we watched. Again, as a fan, we have nothing. We can't do anything on the field. We can't have really much to say of what happens and what doesn't happen. It just doesn't work that way, Same in any sport, whether it's basketball, hockey, baseball. Maybe in a way we can affect the other team. But honestly, we really have very little to do with what happens on the field, if anything at all, or on the court or on the ice. The players have to do it. The coaches have to do it. And when everything is working to maximum potential, you see the results. You get championships. And when they're not, you have losing seasons. And unfortunately, around here, there's been a lot of losing seasons with these teams. We root for them all. We hope for the best. But for the most part, the pro sports teams in Philly, they lose. They lose a lot. And a lot of times it's execution of plays. A lot of times it's coaching. Sometimes it's just bad luck. That's why when we do win, that's why it means so much here. Because it doesn't always happen, You look at the cities around us, they win a lot more. They have dynasties. They have success. Here it's like, we win once, and then that team doesn't win again for how many years? And it's weird. It's strange how it works that way. It just seems there's some places that just do it better than others. I don't know what it is. I don't think this is a bad organization. I think that Jeffrey Lurie has been a very good owner of the team. I think for the most part, they've had good coaches and good players. I just think, unfortunately, they just can't string together seasons for whatever reason it is, injuries, inconsistencies. It's maddening because this team should be a lot better than they are. And I know they've been dealt with a lot of injuries, and it happens. But they should be a lot better than they are. They really should. And it's not because Nick Foles isn't here. There's just a breakdown. There's a breakdown with the coaching staff. There's a breakdown with the players, with the execution. And at the end of the day, they're 5-6. They're 5-6. Should be better. It's Howie making poor decisions in the offseason, not making in-season moves. That's part of this too. But hey, this team is what they are right now. There's nothing that can be done right now. There's not a magical player that's going to be brought on right now that's going to solve everything. It's on the coaching staff and on these players to get this thing right. Because there are winnable games here the next few weeks to make that Week 16 game a meaningful game against Dallas, as long as they lose one before that. And they very well could. But it's on the coaching staff and it's on the players to get this thing right. And unless that happens, it's all for nothing at this point. The rest of the way, it's a lost cause, a lost season. And I hate to say that the week of Thanksgiving, when you still have 5 weeks left in the season and things can happen, and we saw what happened a year ago, and I get that, but it's just, I don't have a lot of confidence in this coaching staff, particularly offensive side of the ball, and I don't have a lot of confidence in the offense at this point. Now, again, maybe they get some guys back healthy, offensive line gets healthy, get some players back, maybe it looks a little different, but it's hard for me to say right now, on November 24th, 2019, that I feel overly confident that this team can make a big run the way they did a year ago. I would love to see it, and I'm going to root for them every week, as I always do, and I'm going to hope for the best every week, but I just have a sinking feeling right now about the way things are going. Yes, I know I'm wearing the Sixers hat. I just figured I'd do that as a touch for this video. I don't know. As a fan, all I want is for these teams to win. And I want to have success. I want the Sixers to get out of the freaking second round this year. And I don't feel overly confident with the coach for them to do it. But at the same time, there's a lot of talent. And they have been playing better of late, which is good to see. They're certainly playing better than they were a week or so ago. And it's the ebb and flow of a long season. I get that. I want the baseball team to get better. I miss October baseball. I do think they got the right manager now. I think they have some good players. They need to address the pitching, make some solid moves. I mean, I re-upped my partial season plan, so I'm looking forward to more games at the ballpark. I want them to win. I want them to have success. I'm tired of the losing seasons. With the hockey team, I want them to play better. They've been up and down, and I know, look, they have a lot of young kids that were called up, and they're playing pretty good. I like the coaching staff. I think they got the right coach here. I just think that it's going to take maybe a few seasons for them to really get this thing going. And there's going to be bumps along the way, and there's going to be inconsistencies, and there's going to be, it's the ebb and flow of a long season. But I certainly want them to play better. I want them to matter again. It's been too long. And with the Eagles, thank God they won Super Bowl 52. Thank God. Because, all those years going into hearing from other people, you're never going to win. Your team's never going to win, and all this and that. And it wasn't just that. It was just watching this team all those seasons just find ways to lose. Even when they had all that talent, going to those NFC title games and losing, being basically the Buffalo Bills of the NFC title games all those years, and then finally breaking through and losing a winnable game in the Super Bowl, Super Bowl 39 against the Patriots. It was a winnable game, and they lost. So that Super Bowl, that championship, that's why it meant so much, because you had to go through all the suffering to get there. When the Phillies won in 2008, it was awesome because that was my first championship. It was my first time seeing one of these teams win. And it meant a lot. And then, of course, the Eagles do it, and it was... it was awesome. And I know you don't stay on top forever. Eventually the Patriots are going to start losing. It happens. That's what sports is. You can't always stay on top. Some great dynasties, they end eventually. It happens. But I would like to have a dynasty here. It's like, damn it, can one of these teams just do that? Can one of these teams win and just keep winning for a number of years and be a dynasty? And just have that feeling, have that. And it just doesn't seem to work. But again, as a fan, we can't do anything about it. We can't do it whether they win or lose. I know there's a lot of great people that go to these games. I know the E-Rock and the Fourth and John crew, they're every week, in full throat for this team. with all the other thousands of fans that are in that stadium. And though there's nothing that really can be done by fans, it's a shame. It's a shame that how quickly things crumbled after that Super Bowl. It really is. And look, I mean, this season isn't over tonight. It feels like it is, but it isn't. There's still going to be hopefully some meaningful games coming up, but you know, it's games like this that just, you know, it's tough. It sucks. You have to go through it. You have to, you know, go through these battles with this team and the emotions. And look, this is a fan base that cares. That's why you hear the boos. That's why you get people like me making these videos on YouTube, because we care about this. And maybe sometimes we're misguided with it, but we care. These teams matter to us here. And sometimes there's apathy, and there's apathy in any city. I don't care where you are. There's going to be apathy eventually for teams when they go through losing seasons. But these fans here care. They care about these teams. They want them to get better. They want them to win. Because we want these teams to have what we have, is that passion. And games like this, they just go through the offensively more so than defensively, going through the motions, turning the ball over, bad play calling, inconsistent plays. What are you doing? It's a close game. You have a shot. You just give away another one at home with those fans there. Disappointing. It's disappointing when you look back on it that these were two games that I just believe they gave away. I really do. I believe they gave these games away. I know they were good teams they played against. New England, defending Super Bowl champs. Rematch, first time we saw them since Super Bowl 50. I don't count the preseason. Super Bowl 52. And really both teams laid an egg in that one. But the Eagles' offense was just horrendous. Tonight, this afternoon, I should say, again, big game. Crowd was there, was ready. You know, playoff atmosphere against a good team. MVP candidate Russell Wilson and company. And again, the offense, piss poor. Worse than last week. Worse than last week. And it was hard to think that they could be worse than last week. Oh, they were. Not just because they scored 9 points and not 10, but turning the ball over left and right, looking like absolute crap. Hurts. Hurts because at least we were hoping to get a split in these two games. And you lose both of them. Not just you lose both of them, but they were winnable games. It's not like they got blown out both weeks, that they never had a shot in either game. They had a shot to go 2-0 in these two games. It's going to be hard to regroup. It is. It's hard to regroup after this one. But you know what? Like I said, I don't know what's going to happen next week, even though it's against a bad team in Miami. It's in Miami. I don't know. I mean, if they played like the Sixers last night against Miami, we won't have any problems. But, again, it's a winnable game. I don't know. If this offense can't generate much of anything, it could be another L against the lowly Dolphins, but it could be another L. They got to figure it out. They got to find a way. Get this thing turned around. I mean, if there were teams that you were going to get good against on offense, it's going to be teams like the Dolphins and the Redskins and the Giants. Teams basically jockeying for playoff spots, right? I mean, for playoff spots, for draft picks, okay, for where they're going to be in the draft, okay? So if there were teams that you were going to get good against and better against, find your offense, start finding that cohesiveness, start finding that rhythm. It's these next three games. because those defenses are not good. Okay, you're playing Miami, the Giants, and the Redskins, and even though two of the opponents are divisional opponents, their defenses are not good. They're just not. You look at the numbers that they give up week after week. It's just every opponent just about are scoring tons against them. It doesn't matter who they're playing. Okay, so these are the next 3 games where you could get this offense going, starting to click again. Even though they don't have a tremendous, abundance of playmakers, you could still find your offense against these 3 teams. And you know what? If you go on a roll, if you get that rhythm going, you get jump started, maybe in week 16, if the teams are tied and it's a divisional championship like game and it's here, and who knows what the weather's going to be. It could be snowing for all we know, but who knows? Whatever, December game, late December game, holiday time, whatever. The fans are going to be there, and maybe they can keep the offense going even against a better opponent in Dallas and win that game and do what they didn't do these last 2 weeks. And then maybe they do go on a roll. Who knows? It's sports is funny that way. Every time you think you have something figured out, you don't. And that just is how it is. But after these 2 performances, it's hard for me to say it. I have to see it. And it starts next Sunday against Miami. And we'll see. I know, Eagles Nation, look, we're all hurting here. And, a lot seems lost right now. I guess the one semi-positive is Dallas lost. I mean, I hate that the last 2 years we have to go into these games. Well, I hope that this team loses. Damn it, can it just be us win? We always have to hope for another team to lose. It's like, it's frustrating. It worked out last year, but here we are again. Oh, we need Dallas to lose. We need them to lose. And they put themselves in this position, and that's what sucks about it. They do it to themselves. Anyhow, I've gone on for 47 plus minutes here, and I was hoping to make this a shorter video, and I was proud of myself with the last one. I went under a half hour. That was shocking. But you know what? I had a lot to get off my chest. It's frustrating. More so offensively. Look, defensively, they played well. And I will give credit to Jim Schwartz and the defensive coaches and the players, because they turned things around. They got it now. They're playing really well. These were 2 good quarterbacks that they made look bad the last 2 weeks. Okay? Including possible league MVP. So they played really well. It's just a shame the offense couldn't come along for the ride the last 2 weeks. Otherwise, we would have won the last 2 games. We would be on a 4-game winning streak right now. And look how much different that could have been than how we're feeling right now. It is what it is. What can you do? It's another L. Maybe they get things right against Miami and they go on a run. We'll see. Time will tell. I do want to wish all of you a very happy, for those of you in the U.S. who celebrate this, I do want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. Obviously, Thanksgiving is just a few days away now, and then of course Black Friday. Ooh. Even though all these places start Black Friday starts this weekend. And then of course all the stores are open on Thanksgiving night, and it starts. I'm more of a traditionalist. I like Black Friday more than going out on Thanksgiving night or something, but it is what it is. But have a happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I wish our Eagles could have given us an early Thanksgiving treat tonight, but wasn't meant to be. We just got the slop. It's like week-old pumpkin pie that we were given today. But have a happy Thanksgiving to all of you in Eagles Nation out there, and enjoy the time. Enjoy the holiday. Enjoy the time with family and friends in the Philly area. We have the oldest Thanksgiving Day parade in the nation. 100 years old this year, so that's pretty cool. So that's going to be going off this Thursday, and of course Thanksgiving, and then of course we got football. We all got to be Bills fans as they play Dallas on Thanksgiving, and again, have a happy and safe Thanksgiving. Be safe out there on Black Friday or Thanksgiving night, whenever you all start doing your shopping. I like I say, I go out Black Friday. I go out Black Friday because to me, I'm a traditionalist. Thanksgiving, I went out last year on Thanksgiving night because Mitchell & Ness had an outlet store at the Philly Mills Mall, and they were doing a deal starting Thanksgiving night, so I ran there late night Thanksgiving last year. But that store is no longer in existence now. It's just a flagship store in Philly. But as far as Mitchell & Ness. But so I'm probably just going to be here. But then Black Friday, then, I'm getting up early and doing what I have to do. But you all have a happy Thanksgiving. And I do want to say congratulations. I know it's not really Eagles related, but congratulations and tip the hat to Frank Gore. Third all-time in the league in the history of the NFL for rushing yards. Set that today, surpassed my all-time favorite running back, Barry Sanders. So congratulations to Frank Gore. Have a big game against Dallas this week, Frank. The guy's had a tremendous career, future Hall of Famer. A lot of those years with San Francisco, spent some time with he was with the Dolphins for like a season, I believe, with the Colts, and with the Bills, and has always been just a hard worker and deserved of his third place all time, now behind the great Walter Payton and Emmitt Smith in the all-time rushing book. So congratulations to Frank Gore, and tremendous job there. All right, everyone, we're going to have to again try to pick the pieces up. Hope that this team can find a way to beat the hapless Dolphins next Sunday in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium, and then see what happens from there. We all hope that Week 16 game is meaningful against Dallas. It sucks to have to try to back in again this year, but hey, that's the cards that's on the table for them. We're going to have to see if they can do it. So let's hope for the best. Let's hope that this offense can get figured out like the defense did and join the defense and start to, have some success. But we'll see. Obviously, there's still 5 weeks to go. Anything can happen. Tough, though. Last 2 games, winnable games at home. And it sucks when you lose games like that, particularly at home. It does. But, okay, Eagles Nation, as I said before, happy Thanksgiving. And I will see you all after Thanksgiving with a little preview for the Miami game, the Festive Four, and then, of course, the post-game reaction. So let's go, Birds. All right, let's go offense. Pick it up, damn it. And I'll see you all later in the week. Go Sixers, too. Big one tomorrow at Toronto against the Raptors, a rematch of the divisional round of a year ago. First time they're seeing them this year. Sixers are playing pretty good right now, so we'll see what happens tomorrow night north of the border against the Raptors. And the Flyers, hopefully they can start getting some points here. They play the Canucks tomorrow, and I think they have a light week this week, being Thanksgiving, the Sixers too, but we'll see what happens there. And Phillies, hey, you know what, hot stove, right? Let's get some players. Let's keep building this team, because as a partial season ticket holder, I want results, damn it. All right, everyone, I'll see you in the next one.